Om Shanti. Om Shanti. Good morning. Had your breakfast, everybody? How are you feeling now? Good? From past 3-4 days, we have been saying Om Shanti, Om Shanti. What is the meaning of Om Shanti? I'm a peaceful soul. Shall we experience this for 1 second now? Please sit straight and just be in a consciousness that I am a peaceful soul. In the center of the forehead, I reside, am peaceful, am joyful. With this awareness, let's do an activity. Ready? Are you experiencing joy here? So we'll do one activity with joy. Okay? So in joy, there are 3 letters, right? J, O, and Y. So take up your words which you made or your notes and write down just the thing which happened just before that motivated you. Something which happened just before that motivated you. And one thing you learned from here, one learning which you want to practice in your life, which you're taking it from here, and one special thing about you. Done? Those who didn't finish yet, think over it and write it down for yourself. So we'll start the session now, and we have Sister Gopi with us. She's a spiritual educator and a senior Raj Yoga teacher with Brahmakumaris. She was introduced to the spirituality in 1977. And do you guess at what age she might have had her first meditation experience? 8. At the age of 8, she had her first meditation experience, and from then on, she had been practicing Raj Yoga and teaching the spiritual knowledge all over the world, traveling. And she has spoke on many government organizations, ministries, NGOs, and many other platforms, and had been sharing her insights about the spiritual wisdom and education. And today she's here to discuss about the scaling of inner mountains. Do we all have inner mountains in us? So Didi is going to share how to scale those inner mountains. Over to Didi ji.
Om Shanti. Good morning.
Didi, 1 second. Let us all invite Didi ji with flower bouquet. These flowers indicate the special qualities in her, which she's going to share with all of us now.
It's good. Beautiful.
And it is a blessing from the Supreme, which she inculcates in her and also shares the benefits of those.
Thank you. Om Shanti. How many days have you been here already? 4 days? Are you melted completely? Yes? Or a little bit more to melt? Yeah. When I was reflecting on the topic today, I thought to myself, how do I see the spiritual journey? Do I see it as if it's a mountain to scale? Do I see it as a playground? Do I see it as a school, a learning journey? Because the context that you give your inner terrain, so will be your experience and outlook. So sometimes the terrain changes and we have no control over the terrain, the environment, the circumstances, the people. But what we do have control over is our equipment and what we carry with us that guides us on the journey, and how we look after ourselves. When I was 8 years old and my parents brought me, we had anyway been coming to Abu for quite a few years before that, but at the age of 8, he took us into a room with 2 yogis, the elder sisters, we call them daddies. And I was 8, my brother was 7, my sister was 9, another one was 6. And he put us in front of the daddies and he said, teach them how to meditate. And I looked at one of the daddies and I thought, how are they going to teach me how to meditate? I can't even concentrate for 2 minutes. And very lovingly, one of the daddies started talking about, if you want to become a yogi, then you have to learn to look after your mind. And your mind needs 2 things, love and law. And so when you play with your toys, when you play with dolls, whatever you play with as a child, you look after it. You put it away at the end of the day. You don't just throw it somewhere and leave it. It's the same with your mind. Learn to play with your mind, learn to love your mind, and learn to look after it. Guide it with discipline. And then you can become an accomplished yogi in your life. And the other daddy, she gave us an activity to do. She gave us 4 questions and 1 hour to go away and start an inner dialogue on 4 questions. And we had to do this dialogue 3 times without our mind wandering off. If the mind wandered off, then we had to bring it back to question 1 and start again. But we can't get up until we've completed 3 rounds. And the 4 questions she gave us were, who am I? Who do I belong to? Where do I come from? And why am I here? Who am I? Who do I belong to? Where do I come from? And why am I here? Now, of course, I had some background of Raj Yoga by then. So I went to the meditation room and I sat in front of the picture of the light. And I started the dialogue. And it was 10 o'clock in the morning. Nobody else was there. The room was empty. And so I sat And I started the dialogue inside. And it wasn't an intellectual dialogue. It was more like asking the question and feeling your way into the answer. So I started. Who am I? And I just let myself go inside. And then an old Mataji came in with a plastic bag, and she came and sat right between me and the picture. So suddenly my who am I turned into, well, who is she? Right? So, okay, you're concentrating, you're trying to concentrate your energy, go beyond, and suddenly somebody's like, where did she come from? And the whole room is empty, and she comes and sits right in front of me. So then I get up and I move, and I start the dialogue again. Who am I? Who do I belong to? And then suddenly a truck goes by outside, and my attention gets distracted. What is that? And so for about 10-15 minutes, this game is going on. I'm trying to start to concentrate, and I'm being distracted again and again. And when I looked at the clock, 15 minutes had passed by. So then I thought to myself, okay, I have to go back in 45 minutes with some result. And it was at that moment I changed my mindset from trying to determined. I have to do this, no matter what. And it was a very interesting shift of focus for my mind. Because sometimes when we're in trying mode, there's still mehnat, labor, effort, I'm not sure, doubt. But when you go into determined gear, the gear of determination, I have to do this, then there's no questions. And the mind suddenly tunes in and everything else fades out. And then I started the dialogue again. And this time, by the time I got to the second cycle, it was as if I felt somebody had pulled my intellect beyond this physical realm. And I was in a space of light and bliss and peace and no awareness of the room, no awareness of the body. And I truly felt I had come home. Come home not only just to myself, but come home to something very deeply divine. That experience, after that experience, I couldn't speak for 2 days. Because it left me in such a deep space of silence. Words felt artificial. Coming into sound felt very gross. And it was from that point on, I started to understand what real truth is in our life. And it was like developing a natural instinct for what is true, what is false, what is clean, what is not so clean. And at the same time, feeling God's presence in my life. And I realized very much that, here we are, we go to school, we're given so much information, we have so much to process from the outside that we don't ever activate our discernment from the inside. And the basis of our discernment is my true and original state of being. So if you talk about the peak of a mountain, it's not going up, it's going in, very deep inside, until you hit that place that has no polarity in it, no duality in it, no opinion in it. In fact, not even any memory in it. It is just a state of pure presence. And when we touch that place every day, you've peaked. Now, in meditation, when we adopt a methodology, we can feel that state quickly, and we have to do that, especially in the early morning hours, because even science tells us that whatever you think and feel in the early morning hours, it creates the entire mood for the whole day. So, first thing in the morning, don't pick up your mobile phone. Don't surrender your faculties to something that is dead. Keep it in your hand and start a conversation with yourself, with God. Put something nourishing into your mind. Because the mood you create at that time of the morning, it's like your armor. Yeah? जैसे कवच कहते हैं ना हिंदी में, your armor for the whole day. So, when you've peaked and you've touched base with that, then the rest of the day is about alignment. Staying aligned. Right? If you haven't touched base with this peak inside, then you're subject to being influenced. जो जैसा बोलेगा, जो जैसा कहेगा, whatever people say, however people make you feel, you have no internal destination. You get lost. You get lost under influences. You get caught up in a spin. You get caught up in attachments, and you don't feel yourself. In fact, you give yourself away to everybody who comes in front of you. So first thing in the morning, reclaiming my power is very essential in peaking. And then throughout the day, as we walk through our karmic story, alignment is necessary. And this alignment is between three things: my dharma, my karma, and my dharana. My dharma is not just a religion. It's a state of being. Shanti ek swadharam hai. Peace is my original religion. Purity. Being true inside. And then aligning my karma in the day to my dharma. Because it's so easy to do what is easy instead of doing what's right. We come into familiarity. We can get caught up in gossip. We can get caught up in saying something bad about somebody. And we've just gone against something very true and pure inside us. So we don't feel well. Yeah? If you've gossiped negatively about somebody, you watch your mood at the end of the day. You actually, in that moment, you divorce your dharma. Your karma can make you marry your dharma, or your karma can make you divorce your dharma. So your dharana, your character, your virtues are a product of the alignment between dharam and karam. And this is so important because, I remember many years ago, we had a group of young adult leaders come here to Madhuban. And they spent some time with Daddy Kumarka, who was our first additional chief after Brahma Baba passed away. And a lot of these young leaders were saying, but Daddy, how is it possible to live in the world, in such a world? It's very difficult for us. And Daddy gave a very beautiful answer. She said, this world, yes, it is like a jungle of thorns. But my responsibility is to watch where I put my feet and to find a safe path out of the jungle. If I'm careless with my thoughts, if I'm careless with my karma, my foot will step on a thorn and I will get hurt. You can't blame the thorn. The thorn is doing what it's meant to do. It pricks you. You're not going to say, oh, my life has stopped because of a thorn. Your responsibility is, where am I putting my feet? The foot of my intellect, the foot of my conscience, the foot of my mind. So, when we understand the terrain and that I have to create a safe path, a pleasant path for myself moving forward, then the whole question comes down to, well, how well am I taking care of myself? We would like everyone and everybody to take care of us. We want love from everybody. But when we really learn to take care of ourselves, we create a space of self-love. And that's what makes the journey easy. We have a slogan in the Brahmakumaris. We talk about balance. And we say balance brings bliss. So every day is a balancing act. Okay? It's not a driving act, a striving act. It's a balancing act. Because when you keep the balance, your happiness and your joy and your lightness stays alive. Then everything is okay. But when you start to feel pressure, you lose balance, then even the smallest task can feel difficult and big. And a lot of this has to do with how we look after our mind. We do need an education. We need a spiritual education to unlearn some of the beliefs that we carry. Because a lot of our mental experience is rooted in our belief system. And sometimes our beliefs, a belief is only an experience, actually. It's an experience you've had that you have accepted as truth. Let me give you an example. I was born in Kenya. And in the area where we lived, it was relatively safe. But then one day, the front door was open and 3 robbers came in through the door. And they had machetes, they had knives. They locked everybody up in the bathroom. They robbed the house and they left. So suddenly, my experience of safety in the neighborhood turned into something that was not safe anymore because of that experience. And that started to change my belief. So burglaries happened in the neighborhood in a few houses. And suddenly the belief system it's not safe here anymore. Because essentially your beliefs have a deep component linked to your human experience, the senses, what you felt and taken in through the senses. So beliefs are very, very fickle. They can change like this. If you have another experience, your belief can change. It's very fickle because of your senses. But what is true is eternal. That never changes. And when we work with what is true in every situation, it's as if you feel you are more stable inside. You know, we like to take pictures. Whenever I go someplace, people say, oh, we saw you on YouTube. Then they bring the camera out. Can we take a photo with you? And I say to them, okay, you saw me in one box. Now you want to put me in another box. And I'm standing right in front of you. So instead of having a photo taken, why don't we just take a moment and have an exchange of soul conscious vision? We call it drishti. At least this is a live exchange of energy. I'm not looking into your little box. You're not putting me back into a box and pleasing yourself with a picture. Because that's not truth. True is connection. True is what is living in this moment now. And so somehow we've bought into this culture where whatever we see or hear or feel or touch, oh yeah, that's beautiful, that feels pleasant, oh that's lovely, is true. No, it's not true. What is true is the living being that exists behind this face. What is true is the virtue and the quality that exists behind this dynamic. And it takes effort to connect to something beyond your senses. Because your sensory world is not the reality. It is a reality. And we know how when, anything in life that we have to achieve, at some point you have to go beyond everything logical, everything rational, and you have to step into faith, deep faith. A deep faith in yourself, faith in God, faith in time. And you have to surrender to that to make the impossible possible. When the Gulf War was taking place, the east coast of Africa, we would have the ships coming in from the US to go into the Middle East. And there was a general, Sir Norman Schwarzkopf, and he'd given a public talk. And in it, he'd shared something very beautiful. That there are two things a leader needs: character and strategy. But in the end, if you have to be without one, which one should you be without? Which one should you be without? Strategy. Let the strategy go. It is the light of who you are that people will follow and respond to. Because that's natural. Nobody remembers plans and strategies when there's a crisis. Nobody. Nobody even thinks like that. Everyone is looking for light and they're looking for hope. So internally, part of this journey is building a capacity, a spiritual capacity inside, a spiritual reservoir of energy that's beyond the physical. And that's where meditation has a very important part to play. If I was a doctor and I had to write to you a prescription, I would make it mandatory. 20 minutes every morning, 20 minutes every evening, minimum. That's the prescription you need to live in today's time. So this space we give to ourselves to elevate our minds, elevate our frequency, it starts to help us see further. And we don't get stuck in small things around us. Confusion. Because one of the benefits of meditation is it increases your decision-making power. It increases and gives you a far-sighted intellect. It increases and builds your intuition so you can quickly make decisions fast. And that's what you need to do when a crisis hits. You don't have time to analyze data, information. It has to be instantaneous. So there's another intelligence you have to tap into for that. Now, many times people ask me the question, how is it possible to sustain a spiritual frequency in this kind of world when you're surrounded by so much negativity? And there's two things I want to say in relation to this. First, you have to look after yourself in a situation. Don't get trapped thinking that you have to look after the situation. Your responsibility is yourself first. And the game is about attention. Think about a mother. When a mother gives birth to a child, she literally the child has to be held, for quite a long time, because the bonding happens as the mother holds the child. So the mother holds the child. She'll do the housework in the day. She'll go shopping. She'll go cooking. But she always has one eye on the child, right? We have mothers in the room here, yes? We've had children. So at no point will she ever say, oh, she's cooking and she got so lost in the cooking that the child fell. She forgot she had a child in her hand. So each one of us have this faculty to give attention to something we love as we're doing something that we know how to do. And it's the same with your mind. That during the day, you've created a list of to-do things. I have to do this, and I have to do this. And yes, you know what you have to do. But then, what are you going to do with your mind, your baby, throughout the day? So it's not enough just to make a timetable for your physical day. You have to make a timetable for your mind. You have to make a timetable for this little baby, to give space to this baby, to nourish the baby, to talk to the baby, to give attention to this baby. Because as you keep your mind, the baby of your mind, stable and peaceful and serene, your inner light can find a pathway out of any situation. But if this light gets turned off, you're in the dark. Oh, where should we do this? Shall we do this? Shall we not do this? Shall we do that? Shall we not do that? So looking after this baby is very important. That's why it's not enough just to meditate in the morning. During the day, we have a practice here. We call it traffic control. It's now an app as well. During the day, when you stop for a few moments and just check in with that baby. How's it doing? It's okay? What does it need? needs a little break, needs a little refreshment, give it what it needs. Then go back to your task. And then you'll feel, as you take these breaks, that by the end of your day, you will have accomplished a lot of things, but you won't feel heavy. Because you've looked after this baby. And the second thing, the second example, think of a radio station. A radio station has many frequencies, 88, 90, 95, 105. When you're tuned into 88 FM, for example, can you hear what is happening at 105? Can you hear? No. If you're tuned in at 105, can you hear what's happening at 88? No. So our spiritual frequency, let's say, is 105 FM. Our physical frequency is 88 FM. So when you're tuned in at a very physical base ground level all the time, most people in the world are tuned in at that level. There are lots of thoughts about what I have to be, lots of thoughts about jealousy and greed and anger and revenge and what this person said to me and what this situation happened. There's a lot of noise at that frequency. So when you live at that frequency yourself, your mind and the airwaves in your mind carry everybody else's information in. And sometimes you will have thoughts that are not even your thoughts. But when you spend time first thing in the morning tuning your consciousness, really starting at a high pitch first thing in the morning and setting the frequency, tuning it and setting it there, you will not be able to hear what is happening at 88. You just won't hear it. It's happening. People are thinking in critical ways. People are thinking in jealous ways. People are thinking in vengeful ways, but it will not touch your mind. And that's how you keep objectivity and perspective. And that's how you can stay safe amongst a lot of different dynamics and be a source of inspiration. Because when you stay light and you're not, all this stuff isn't in your mind, kya hua, what happened, this happened, that happened, you stay focused, you stay enthusiastic, you have energy, you have motivation to keep moving forward. When people see you, they will be inspired to let go and move forward. So a lot of our work, whilst this is a spiritual family, this is a yajna, it's a sacrificial fire, we are on a path of self-progress. So each one of us is always giving something up. We have to let go of something. But this is also an organization. We have centers in 120 countries worldwide. We have projects. We have outreach projects. We have people to look after. Nobody gets hired. Nobody gets fired. So you need a very big capacity to work with all kinds of individuals here. To keep human dignity in front and to get the job done. Both. And to be able to achieve that, you have to look after your stage first. First thing in the morning, we have practice here. We have 45 minutes of meditation first thing in the morning. I don't know if they've invited you to the 4 o'clock morning meditation they have, yeah. So you'll know. The moment you hit that peak, your mind is at cruise control for the rest of the day. And very quickly, when you're tuned into a spiritual frequency, you can understand what someone needs. And plus, you have the resources to give that. If somebody needs peace, shant kara do. If somebody needs respect, give them respect. If somebody needs love, give them a bit of love. Your capacity to be patient, to be tolerant, to be content grows when you develop your spiritual energy. So it is absolutely mandatory now. We don't have a choice anymore, because entropy is speeding up. I've just come back from Latin America. I had a tour of 4 countries, and I was invited by one of Latin America's largest cooperatives called Cumiva. And they've been running a conference called Expo Ser. Ser means self in Spanish, for the last 16 years. And every year they invite a BK to come and open the conference. So the opening session belongs to the BKs. So this year they invited me. And when the president of the conference stood up to speak, I was amazed, because he's telling the group, he's Colombian. This was happening in Colombia, in a city called Cali in Colombia. And he was telling the audience, you know, I have been meditating every morning for the last 14 years. And I have a personal motto. I have realized that when I change, then the world can change. And so my passion is for self-transformation, which is the basis of this conference. And then he turned around to me and he said, "Sister, please talk to us about time. What is this time that we're going through? People are struggling to understand what is happening, because it seems that every day things are destabilizing further and further. Politically, economically, socially." And when I stood in front of the group, I said to somebody, I said, you know, I'm not going to put myself under the pressure by saying that I'm here to save the world, because that's not what we're here for. I'm not here to save something that is dying, but I'm here to plant seeds for something that is new. And I think one of the most difficult experiences in our life is facing death. Either our own death or the death of somebody that is close to us. We come to a point where at first we can't accept this person is dying. And we will try and do everything we can to help them. But if they haven't chosen to live, what can you do? It's their life, it's not yours. You can't live it for them. They have to make the choice. So how do we coexist with something that is dying and deteriorating at such an intense speed? I want to give you another metaphor and then share with you a real life story. Imagine fruit. Let's say you go buy some tomatoes. You bring them into your home, you put them on your kitchen table. Then you go on holiday for 2 weeks. When you come back, will the tomatoes have remained the same? Will the tomatoes be the same? No. What will have happened? They'll have started rotting, right? This is entropy. It's normal. So when you come back and you see the tomatoes rotting, oh my God, it's not the end of the world, they're rotting. But if you're sensible, you're going to take the seeds from the tomato and you're going to plant a new sapling. You're going to plant them in a pot to create a new tree. Leave everything that's not necessary, recycle the stuff that's rotting, but you're going to take out the seeds. And so at this point in time, when we're coexisting with something that is dying, we have to look for seeds. We have to look for those seeds in human beings, because the soul is the seed. The soul's potential, virtues, qualities have to be transplanted and made to flourish again, so that we can recreate our context again. My father, 25 years ago, developed a very rare form of cancer. It was lymph cancer of the lymph nodes in his neck. And in those days, they gave him very aggressive chemotherapy and radiation. And the radiation was right across his neck and his chest. It took off his skin. And we didn't realize that 25 years later, the radiation had actually killed off a lot of the nerves and muscles. The muscles had shrunk, the nerves, the esophageal nerve system wasn't working, the flap that protects the food from going into the lungs wasn't working. And he started to get very unwell. This was about 3 or 4 years ago. And eventually he had a mini heart attack. And when we took him to the hospital, we couldn't understand why he had a heart attack. He never had heart problems. But it took 2 weeks to find out that what was happening was he'd lost arm movement, muscle movement. He couldn't lift his arms. The esophagus wasn't working, so food was going into his lungs. That was putting pressure on his heart. So huge complications began. I was on tour in South Africa, and it was just after COVID. My mother had COVID, my brother, my sister. Nobody could look after him, so I came back to look after him. And I arrived, I refreshed, and I went straight to the hospital. And he's my father, so of course I love him. And I thought, I looked at what was happening. The physiotherapist was with him, teaching him how to blow into a pipe to strengthen his lungs, teaching him how to pedal, move his arms, ride a bike so he could stay mobile. But when I looked at him, I saw somebody that was giving up. He was just giving up. So as soon as the physiotherapist left the room, he stopped. Now, of course, inside me, the child, there's this little attachment voice that says, but come on, Dad, do something. Come on, do something. Let's do something together. And something inside me said, no, don't compensate for him. It's his effort. So I just decided to be with him and observe him. I didn't try to push him to make any effort. I didn't encourage him to do anything. I just sat with him. I would sit with him from 9 o'clock in the morning to 9 in the evening. I would be with him. And I just watched him for a couple of days. On the third day, he says to me quietly, "Do you think I'll make it?" And I said to him, "Dad, that's not a question you have to ask me. You have to answer that question. But if you would like me to share my observations, I'll tell you what I'm seeing." And he said, "Tell me what you're seeing." And he said, "I'm seeing somebody who has spent their entire life doing so much good for people. You've been a meditator for 47 years, and I'm seeing this person giving up. Is that how you want to live your life? Giving up on everything you've accomplished in your life? Everything you hold true in your life? The effort you've made in your life? Is that it? You're just going to give up, let it go, and everything goes down the toilet? That's how you want to go? Or do you want to continue making your sincere effort till your last breath, and then when God and time want to take you, they'll come and pick you up? You decide. Because I'm not about to compensate for you. It's your effort, it's your life, and it's your fortune and your reward. I left. Next morning I arrived 9 o'clock. He's on that pedal bike. He's on the pedal bike. My brother has arrived. He's got my brother to make a table sheet of steps, how many steps he has to take every day. And from that point on, it took him 2.5 months to get himself out of hospital. But he got himself out of hospital because he made the decision to live. He made the decision to make the effort. So sometimes in our life, our attachments, I call them false peaks. Yeah, you've got to be careful. What's the real peak? Is your truth and your purity. Don't compromise that for anything. And your conscience will speak to you about how to be in a situation. But attachment is a false peak. Ego is a false peak. Desires are false peaks. And so sometimes when we're attached to something, we overcompensate. It means the person that has to live their life and make the effort don't make the effort they need to. So they stay weak. They stay weak and they become more dependent on you. And you then feel heavier and heavier and heavier and more obliged. I have to. Karna padta hai. Dekhna padta hai. And then life is not enjoyment anymore. It's obligation. Now I want to demonstrate something. Kitne baje hai? 10:30? Yeah, we don't have a clock here. It's 1 minute left at 10:30, okay. So I'm going to just ask you to get up, stand up and sit down 3 times. At your pace. Just stand up and sit down 3 times. Okay? Okay. अभी ट्रैफिक कंट्रोल आप रोक लीजिए. ट्रैफिक कंट्रोल का गीत रोक लीजिए क्योंकि हम योग कराएंगे अभी, ठीक है? Okay, now I want you to sit up straight and I'm going to take you into a little meditation or reflection. So both feet on the floor. Leave your eyes open very little. Either you can leave them open in front of you. If you close them, you will lose concentration. So just leave them open very slightly. And I want you to take a deep breath in from your stomach and hold it. And then release your breath very slowly. Breathe in again. Take a deep breath in, hold, and release slowly. Again, take a deep breath in and hold. And this time as you release your breath slowly, bring your attention into this moment now. Breathe in again. Hold. And breathe out slowly. And withdraw your attention from everywhere else and bring it into the present moment now. Allow your breathing to settle into a gentle rhythm. Observe the flow of your breath. Breathe in peace and breathe out peace. And just notice any tension in your body, maybe stomach or hands or arms or shoulders. And as you breathe in and out, release the tension on the out breath. So observe your breath. And now follow your breath to its source. Turn your attention deep inside. What is this Shakti that is powering your breath? Feel yourself inside. Very subtle presence inside. Like a current of energy that makes this blood move around your body, that is making this body breathe. That is listening through these ears. And now visualize all this energy rising up. Rising up through your legs, up through your arms. Different colors of energy rising up through your chest. All of this energy converging through your neck, rising up and concentrating into a ball of light, a star of light in the center of your forehead. All this Shakti concentrates into a star of light. And for a few moments, you let go of your name and form, and you let yourself And you let yourself become light. You let go of your name and form, and you let yourself become the star of light. Just let the costume go, the roles go, the masks go, and let yourself become completely light. And now in your mind, repeat this thought 3 times slowly. I, the living being, am a being of light and peace. I, the living being, am a being of light and peace. I, the living being, am a being of light and peace. And stay absorbed in this awareness of being the soul, a master of this body, a master of these senses, a subtle being of light. And whilst remaining in this space of self-awareness, now make a choice. I, the soul, choose to stand up, and I, the soul, choose to sit down. And whilst generating this thought from this awareness, you stand up and sit down 3 times again from this place of self-awareness. I, the soul, and as you sit down, go back to the center of your forehead and forget what you've just done. And let yourself become light again. Thank you. Om Shanti. Did you feel a difference? Did you feel a difference between the first time you stood up and down and the second time? Who felt a difference? What difference did you feel? You what? You couldn't stand up. You didn't want to stand up, okay? What else? You felt much lighter. Who felt much lighter the second time? Okay. That's the immediate benefit of a very simple micro shift. You just sat back on your seat and performed the same action. The first time, who had the power? I did. I was pulling the string from here. Stand up, sit down, stand up, sit down. And everybody was like, some were looking at each other. Okay, well, they're standing up, then we have to stand up. Why is sister asking us to stand up? So there was a bit of reaction, bit of noise. But the second time, you were in charge. Mine was just an instruction. But you were on your seat. You made the effort to sit on your seat and make the choice. And the moment you did that, the power comes back into your hand. So if you want to scale any mountain, cross any jungle, whatever the terrain is, it is this practice that will help you move through things lightly and easily, as if you haven't done anything. Because it is the spiritual, the subtle, that governs the physical. Right? But when you're not on your seat and you're like this, you're like, okay, you're waiting to be given something. Right? You're heavy. Kuch milta hai, kuch nahi milta hai. Oh, acha nahi lagta hai. You feel heavy, and then from a place of heaviness, every action is mehnat. It's labor. And that's what creates fatigue and tiredness. So this has to be a very deep discipline inside. It doesn't take long. You see, 5 minutes. It doesn't take long, but it's a micro shift that puts you back in charge. You are in charge of your life, your activity, your choices, and your consciousness. And then very free inside, because the peak of the mountain is inner freedom and inner happiness. That's the peak. But it's a very little micro shift that makes this a big difference. And I understand in today's world, we are consuming huge amounts of information. We think the more information we have, something will come out of it. Actually, no. Think about a judge in a court of law. When the judge sits on his seat, puts his cap on, puts his robes on, listens, passes judgment by banging the hammer, then the system accepts it as law. But the same judge, same intelligence, same skill set, same knowledge, is at home. And he's having a cup of tea with his wife and passing judgment. Do you think anybody will listen? He has to be on his seat. It's the same for the human soul. It's when the soul sits on its seat, pull your energy together, concentrate, sit on the seat that you can command, and whatever you command becomes the law. You can command your senses, you can direct, you can speak from that place, and you will be heard. But when you're displaced from your seat, you're in reactive mode. Yeah. I don't want resistance, reaction. And then everything feels like you're pushing something up a hill. Nothing feels easy. So small little shifts to make in our life, not big. Look after your mornings, take these breaks in the day, and the last thing before we finish is take care of your mind before you go to bed. What happens when you sleep is that everything in your short-term memory is going into your long-term memory. So when you go to sleep with everything of the day, right, the junk of the day, images of the day, feelings of the day, and your mind feels so heavy, then you want to distract, so you watch a movie, then you feel more images, and then you fall asleep watching the movie. Your subconscious has to work very hard in trying to organize all this information. So you start to have dreams, bad dreams. You wake up the next day and you feel like you've not slept. And then again, you reach out for coffee, you reach out for something else to try and push yourself to stay awake. And then again, that cycle repeats. And eventually, it creates a cycle of inertia, depression. So before you go to bed at night, 15, 20 minutes, clear everything out of your short-term memory. Just do a memory dump. It's really important. And then just read something nourishing for the mind, program an affirmation, and then go to sleep. And you will see, even if it's 3 or 4 hours of sleep, you will wake up very, very refreshed. So time is ticking on. I could spend the whole day with you, but you have other sessions and I have another session to go to. But from my heart, I'm very grateful that all of you took the time out to come here, especially for yourselves, because you are the greatest gift to everybody in your life. And whatever it is that you empower yourself with becomes a gift for every soul in your life. So my good wishes are that you connect with your peak every day and stay aligned with your dharma and your karma, and then watch your fortune open up. Thank you. Om Shanti.
Thank you, Didi, for such an inspiring and guiding session on how to become a self-mastery. So few of you might have questions. Please note those questions and give them to us. Didi has to leave for some other session now. So we express our gratitude with class.